everybody. I'm Frank Brown, CEO of Corrective Exercise, Arizona's leader in geriatric training. And today we are going to talk about the cost difference between assisted living and in-home care. Depending on the type of care someone needs and the level of care will determine what is the best option for this. And you can always consult with a professional if you need help. Today, we're just going to talk about the cost differences between bringing care into the home and going to assisted living. Generally speaking, there's a progression. Most people want to stay in their home, in their environment for as long as they can. When people start to decline, usually the first option is to bring care into the home. Depending on what your budget is and what the needs of the person are, there's generally two options for bringing care into the home. You can bring in a caregiver who works independently to work privately for you in the home, or you can seek out an agency that specializes in hiring caregivers, staffing caregivers. Generally speaking, hiring a caregiver that works for themselves privately is going to be a little less expensive than bringing in an agency. Private caregivers generally work in the range of, $18 to $25 an hour, depending on how much help your loved one needs. A lot of times people start out with just bringing in a caregiver a couple hours in the morning and then a couple hours in the evening. And as the demand for care increases, you can increase the duration of which your caregiver stays. An agency is usually going to run you somewhere in the ballpark of $35 to $45 an hour, depending on where you are in the country, what the cost of living is in your area, and what the acuity of the client is. As you can see here, if you're paying an agency, $40 an hour, it's going to be $80 in the morning, $80 in the evening. That's about $160 a day. But it could be as little as, $20 an hour, $25 an hour, and $50 in the morning and $50 in the evening. So it could be anywhere as little as, $100 a day and $700 a week at $40 an hour, $4,200 a week. So there's a huge variance there, and it's all going to depend on the level of care, the type of care, and the duration and frequency of which you bring them in. But so in-home care is going to cost anywhere from $1,000 to about $18,000 a month. And I know you're thinking, oh my God, that's extortionate. Care is expensive. And I know a lot of elderly people did not necessarily prepare to spend this type of money as they got older because they didn't know and the information wasn't there. So that's why I'm making this video. So they know about how much it costs to get old. It's not cheap. When these numbers start to get a little bit higher and you start looking at, $1,000 a week or more, it starts to make a little bit more sense financially to start looking at assisted living. And depending on what your budget is, that's going to kind of determine what your options are for assisted living. You might be able to find a shared room for $2,500 to $3,500 a month. Private rooms, which is what most people want. Most people don't want to share a room with someone they don't know. Are going to run, depending on where you are and what type of home, somewhere in the range of $5,500 to $9,000 a month. Things that are going to affect the cost of the room are if they have a private bathroom or not, how big the room is, where the home is located, and how luxurious the home is. And sometimes there is a price break for a couple, and I've seen shared rooms for couples go for, $8,000 to $12,000 a month, as opposed to $11,000 and $18,000 for two individuals. So now there are some things that you need to keep in mind also, because those numbers are not concrete, and there are some things that can also affect the cost of care at home and in assisted living. And I've broken those down right here. Higher levels of care are more labor intensive, which can and will, in most cases, increase the rates, the cost of care. A few factors that affect these costs of care anywhere from 10 to 30% in price every month is if an individual is bedbound, wheelchair bound, completely immobile, and they can't stand, walk, transfer themselves. Bariatric patients tend to come with a higher risk and much greater levels of care. Another thing too, specialized care for advanced conditions, IV medications. If the patient has really bad wounds on their extremities or their backside, all these things can oftentimes increase the cost of care at home and in assisted living. So that's just a simple comparison of some of the more basic costs of bringing care into the home and going into assisted living. Thank you very much. I'm Frank Brown, CEO of Corrective Exercise, Arizona's leader in geriatric training.